Pikes and Wagners. Oh, please tell me that's not too long. It is. Oh boy. We ended up with a long one. Okay. Well, there's only one way to get this over with. By starting reading it. So let's go. Euclid. Presently, Foundation efforts at Research Facility 2039 are focused on two fronts: prevention and minimization of collateral damage to the area outside the valley, and analysis of the phenomenon's history and behavior. Containment assets stationed at Research Facility 2039 have been given the primary directive of containing or neutralizing the possibility of any collateral damage caused by SCP-2039 during an active state. This team has been given the secondary objective of monitoring the perimeter of the valley to ensure that no civilians enter the area during an active state. If personnel determine that the potential for collateral damage extends beyond the valley, the containment team will be mobilized. Direct elimination of subjects has proven impossible thus far. Currently, subjects are only capable of physical harm through direct confrontation with other subjects. Operators will therefore focus their efforts on disarming subjects to neutralize the threat of further collateral damage. I'm going to pass out soon. Unfortunately, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is sleepy. Yeah, no worries. No worries. You can always watch this tomorrow. The long-term goal of the staff at Research Facility 2039 is to discover a method with which to neutralize the phenomenon. To this end, Foundation sociologist/physician Dr. Wilkes has been selected to act as an undercover liaison between SCP-2039 and the Foundation. Dr. Wilkes has been able to gather information on both groups' histories as well as the nature of the phenomenon itself by performing periodic house calls for both groups under the guise of a local physician. Due to the subject's sedentary history and apparent inability to exit the valley alive, researchers currently believe that subjects will not attempt to leave the area. However, should SCP-2039 become capable of leaving the valley, the potential for collateral damage has been deemed too high to dismiss as a possibility. Therefore, mobile task forces across the region have been briefed on the nature of SCP-2039 to assist local assets with capture and restraint of subjects should it become necessary. SCP-2039 collectively refers to two distinct families of humans residing in a mountainous area near North Carolina. The groups currently reside on opposite sides of a tributary that runs between two small forests and mountains. The predominant cultures and behaviors exhibited among SCP-2039 are typical of families who reside in the southeastern United States during the early 20th century. Each family produces its own sustenance through hunting and basic agriculture using weapons and tools indicative of the era. Subjects from opposing families are generally unfriendly towards each other, but rarely ever initiate direct conflict unless provoked. Reminds me of Romeo and Juliette with their families. During interviews, subjects from both groups generally claim that their families have been in the state of incivility for as long as they can remember. However, most summaries of the feud's origins are either wildly inconsistent or extremely vague, excepting the account given by SCP-2039-P01. See interview log 2039-P01-19 for details. Since the Foundation discovery of SCP-2039 in 1904, none of the subjects have shown any signs of physical aging, nor have they ever attempted to leave the valley in which they reside. Attempts to remove subjects from the area by force have been met with extreme distress and violence, followed by cardiac arrest and death. Subjects remain deceased until returned to the area, or they will awaken at the end of the next active state. Detail below. P refers to the Pike family located on the southern mountain. This group consists of 36 individuals of varying age who reside in a number of small shacks and cabins scattered along the hillside. The group has no apparent chain of command, but all B subjects generally defer to the instruction and advice of a certain elder member of the group, designated P1. P1 is a white female who appears to be between the ages of 60 to 75 years old. Subject claims its name is Dixie Mabel Pike and prefers to be addressed by its given middle name, Mabel. And we have a P01 Mabel with P33 circa 1907. Yeah, that looks like a strict grammar. W refers to the Wagner family, located on the, and that's what it says, like Pike and Wagner, right? Pikes and Wagner, okay. Located on the Northern Mountain. Unlike P, the 29 subjects that comprise W reside together in one large plantation-style home built into the hillside. W also seem to have a designated leader, W1, a white male who appears to be between the ages of 55 to 70 years old. Subject claims its name is Blaine Randolph Wagner and prefers the name Blaine. And here we have Blaine in 1918. Damn. A dapper looking man. It's kind of weird looking at like his face and then his hands, because his hands look way older than his face does. Like those look like actual like 70-year-old hands, and that face looks more like in the 55. Maybe not even that. Like his face looks very young. Definitely more like in the 35. Occasionally, subjects from either group will enter an active state characterized by violent tendencies and a compulsion to harm/murder all opposing subjects. A subject will only enter an active state if it believes that one of its family members has been harmed or threatened by a subject from the opposing group. Oh god. It is totally like Romeo and Juliette, isn't it? God. The Montagues and the Capulets, yeah, it's totally like them. As okay. A subject will only enter an active state if it believes that one of its family members has been harmed or threatened by a subject from the opposing group. Once this occurs, the subject becomes extremely agitated and hostile and will immediately seek out other subjects from its group, causing them to enter active states as well. Once the majority of the group has become active, they will begin gathering weapons and tools from their homes with the intent to engage in direct conflict with the opposing group. From this point on, these weapons and tools are collectively designated -A. -A instances vary from one active state to the next. However, the level of technology demonstrated by these objects is usually anachronistic to the time period to which SCP-2039 adheres, and they frequently exhibit anomalous properties. Regardless of the nature of the weapons, subjects will always have full working knowledge of their operation. It is unknown from where in their homes subjects obtain instances of -A or how they gain the knowledge required to operate the objects. Attempts at direct observation inside of these residences during an active state are invariably met with extreme hostility and violence. See -A partial log for selected examples, and here we have -A partial log for selected examples right here. Date of observed active state 1910. -A object acquired Winchester model 1912 pump action shotguns and M 1917 Enfield rifles modified with M 1917 bayonets, British Mills bombs, a type of grenade. Notes: noble for being weapons of choice for Allied trench soldiers during World War I, 7 years later. Oh, okay. 1932 slings consisting of either flax or hemp. Subject used various small objects as projectiles, including stones, small piece of wood, chicken eggs, piece of cow manure, twist of crown cork, bottle caps. Circa 1963, lead sling bullets with the inscription "Dat" engraved on one side. 1971, aerosol cans which spray a substance visually identical to Wham or Brand's silly string. Cans are labeled solid string. When it comes into contact with a physical object, the expelled substance rapidly expands to approximately 25 times its normal volume and becomes as hard and dense as concrete. Oh fucking hell. That's why it's called solid string. Metal Gear Solid string. Most deaths during this active state were caused by suffocation and massive esophageal rupture. 1977. Objects resembling handheld satellite dishes when activated redacted. Objects appear to be capable of completely dehydrating a human body in approximately 45 seconds from a range of up to 150 meters. 1987. 3-liter capacity Super Soaker brand water guns. Subject used -A instances as simple but effective bludgeon weapons after realizing that they are merely filled with water. Take that, you filthy animal. Horrible way to go. Yeah, absolutely. 2003. 3-liter capacity Super Soaker brand water guns. Options are physically identical to -A instances from 1987. However, they are now filled with military standard Napalm B. Napalm? 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 Wait a minute. Napalm? 2010. MGM 100. And he had stuff to say. Yeah, absolutely. He was like, how dare you have me off screen? MGM 140 ATUC MS service to service missiles. By the way, I have never mentioned this, but I'm actually very glad that like people are down with Henry being part of like the streaming part. Like my first concern with Henry was like somebody would just be like, would just make fun of me for having him in the background and giving him a name. And then I would be like, okay, I guess I have to keep Henry out of the view. But I'm glad like a bunch of people like just on the trend of like, I agree, Henry. I agree. Okay, as W becomes active, all instances retreat into main residence instead of advancing southward. Entire front face of house collapses, revealing an M270A1 multiple launch rocket system. Local containment assets immediately mobilize and use localized EMP weapons to disable electronic targeting and launch systems. Subject advance southward and proceed to engage -P in hand-to-hand combat. Missiles are later discovered to contain nuclear payloads. Where in the fuck do you guys even get all this shit? Like, are you not concerned about your own people too? Like, some of these things could actually, you know, hurt your own group. 2013, thick woolen gloves with which data expunged. Once active state ends, remaining subjects discarded gloves into river, where they dissolve into an opaque black liquid. Subsequent testing of water reveals data expunged. Once the active subjects are retrieved, -A, they will advance towards the opposing group's residence, using the objects to attack all opposing subjects. This initial assault will inevitably trigger active state amongst opposing subjects, who will procure their own instance of -A and begin retaliating. This is Romeo and Juliette if they really went out of hand. The Montagues and the Capulets, if they had like if they had absolutely no chill and had way too if it was like the Leonardo DiCaprio version, but instead of guns they also had bombs, grenades, missile launchers and like supernatural weapons as well that just create shit that doesn't normally work in real life. If a subject becomes disarmed, it will continue to assault undeterred, engaging other subjects through hand-to-hand combat. The conflict will continue until either -P or -W is completely eliminated, killing P1 and W1. Once this is accomplished, remaining subjects will retreat into their respective homes and fall asleep, regardless of the time of day. After a dormancy period of 12 to 36 hours, all instances of -A will vanish, all collateral damage caused by SCP-2039 within the valley will instantly be repaired, and all subjects, both living and deceased, will awaken, completely devoid of injury. The subject will then resume their daily routines and activities, behaving as if no conflict has taken place. Interviews conducted immediately after an active state revealed that subjects retained no memory of the conflict, with the exception of P1 and W1, who apparently retained the memory of every active state since the phenomenon inception. That is, I was about to say that sounds pretty like understandable why they have so many files, because like nobody of them remembers. But P1 and W1 remembering that's also pretty brutal, because like they're the only ones of their own families that actually remembers every single time that they died or killed. It's pretty hardcore. Interview log P1-19. Oh, it's an interview log. Okay, so good. Interview logs usually don't take. I mean, they do take a while, but like if it's because I was looking at the scroll here. And as you can see how much like it decreases in size, right? That's when I know like, oh, it's pretty long. But with interviews, that usually goes by fast because you get into voice acting and all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. Interviewer Dr. B. Wilkes and Mabel Pike. Oh, I get the voice of Grandma. Sonny, you don't understand how it's done around here. This informal interview takes place in the residence of P1 during one of Dr. Wilkes' undercover house calls. 3 operatives are stationed in the forest nearby in case extraction is needed. Through multiple visits and conversation, P1 has grown comfortable enough with Dr. Wilkes to reveal the nature of SB2039. See interview log P1-15. The purpose of Wilkes' line of questioning during this visit is to determine the origins of the SCP-2039 phenomenon. Irrelevant dialogue expunged. So, Mabel, what started this mess with the Wagners?
You're gonna have to be a little bit more specific, dear.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, which mess are we talking about? The one where them Wagner twins burned down Sal's hay shed, or that time where Blaine Wagner himself killed 3 or 4 dairy cows just for spite? Or maybe you mean the time Judy found Afro Wagner with a chick?
I'm sorry, I mean in general. The way you all talk about it seems this bitterness and hostility has been around for a long time. What happened all these years ago?
Doc, you don't want to hear about all that nonsense. It's such a long story, and you got plenty of things more important to worry yourself with.
You are my last house call of the day, dear. I've got nothing but time if you want to talk about it. And I've seen my fair share of strange. I might be able to help with this cycle you told me about.
Well, I doubt that, sweetheart, but hell, if you really want to know, I'll tell you what I can recall. Subject looks momentarily pensive, then begins. Blaine Wagner and me used to be really close, back when we was kids. Thick as thieves, they called us, and for good reason. Our families used to call us the Wild Bunch, after Butch Cassidy's old gang. We had a knack for snacking all sorts of sweets and whatnots from our neighbors around the valley.
Sounds like you might as well have been family.
Well, what's family, really? The people you share blood with, or the people you grew up with, eat dinner with, steal candy with, wade through shit with? So, yes, Blaine was my brother. Closest thing to a brother I ever had, anyway.
So what happened that drove you both to hate each other so much?
When we were in our 20s, I met a girl, a blonde little spitfire named Lucy. Gracious, we loved each other like soil loves water. Now back then, they'd all but lynch girls who fancy other girls, so we had to keep it to ourselves. I was so scared, I didn't even tell Blaine about her. In the end, I didn't have to anyways, I guess. Some of the bollock boys cut sight of me and Lucy walking home one day, getting real close and holding hands. I thought they must have ran their ignorant mouths to Blaine. A couple days later, Lucy had invited me over for a picnic lunch while her pappy was at work. When I walked in the door, I found Blaine standing over her body, holding a Smith & Wesson. Subject remains silent for 20 seconds. Continues. I remember thinking how pretty she was with red hair. After a moment of silence.
What happened between you two after that?
Well, I was pretty damn upset. put it lightly. I swore I'd never have anything to do with that murdering some bitch ever again. Never even let him try to explain what happened. Years went by. I ended up settling down with one of the Pike boys, Walter, God rest his soul, with a bunch of kids and grandkids, had a farm and whatnot, but it wasn't love. Not really. I never went a whole night without dreaming of Lucy's pretty face covered in her own blood, and living right across the river from the bastard that shot her just about drove me crazy. I never did really tell anyone what happened between me and Blaine. All they knew was that old Mr. Wagner did something really awful, and so we hated each other. Did it get violent? For a good while, no. There was an occasional scuffle over some crops or a couple of harsh words from across the river, but nothing violent. So when did it become more than shouting matches? Well, after a while passed, I went to a real dark place. Started dreaming of ways to make Blaine pay for the miserable life I lived since he killed my Lucy. It's all I thought about for a couple of years there. It was about that time I got a visit from the gray-eyed man. Gray-eyed man? Yes, sir. Gray and shifting like a thundercloud. Said he was some kind of collector or storyteller or something. Said he loved a good tale and asked if I knew what actually happened to Lucy way back then. Now that took me by surprise. Hell, by the time I'd been so long ago, I thought me and Blaine were the only two people who even still knew about it. Do you remember anything else about this man? Nothing particular comes to mind. He was pretty ordinary except for them eyes. I do remember how he got this hungry look in his eyes as I was telling him about Lucy. What did you talk about? Well, I ended up pouring out my whole life on him, just like I did you. And he just sat there, drinking it all like honey. I told him how Blaine Wagner was the cause of all my heartache and misery. He took it all in, and then said something very strange. I'll never forget it. He said, "Mabel, I want to help you finish the story." I asked what the hell he was talking about, and he says, "I want to give you the tools to punish Blaine Wagner forever." Strange. What did he mean by that? At the time, I really had no idea. I thought he was going to try to sell me something, like them snake oil people from up north. So, how did you respond to this offer? Like I said, I was in a real dark place. I would have sold my soul to get back at Blaine. So I asked the gray-eyed man what he wanted from me. He said, "I don't want anything from you, Mabel. I just want to give you an end to the story. A forever after, if you will." I told him that sounded exactly what I needed, and we shook hands. Never saw him again after that. Subject begins to look distressed and distant. I'm sorry if this is too upsetting right now. We can talk later if you want. No, but I'll be alright. Remember that man's eyes just gives me the willies is all. Sorry. Subject collects herself and continues. Right. Anyway, a couple days later, one of my youngest, Gary, comes home screaming and hollering about something them Wagners did. Wasn't long until the whole family was up in arms, passing out torches and rifles. I tried to shut them up and figure out what happened, but they wouldn't hear none of it. Subject speech becomes slower and more deliberate. I could see it in their eyes. This hungry look. The same look I got from that storyteller man. They was out for blood. I watched from my front porch while they stampede across the valley like bulls in a thunderstorm, straight towards the Wagner place. I could hear the guns and screaming from all the way over here. I watched the house go up in flames, could hear some of the Wagner grandkids screaming like pigs while they burned, even from that far away. You read the Bible? On occasion. In the book of Matthew, Jesus said something about people being thrown out of the kingdom and into darkness, where there was all sorts of weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth. Christian Bible, Matthew 8:12. That's why I heard that night hell. Plain and simple. That's awful, Mabel. I can't imagine how you must have felt. Wait, that's awful, Mabel.
I can't imagine how you must have felt.
Ah, Doc, look at me, getting all dramatic with this hellfire and brimstone nonsense. Anyway, I don't remember fainting, but I do remember waking up in my bed the next day. It was like nothing ever happened. There were no guns, nobody was hurt, nobody was mad or screaming. Hell, even the Wagner place was still there. Like I forgot I was supposed to be on fire. I was starting to think it was really just a bad dream, until Blaine Wagner himself ran up to my house screaming, "Mabel, what in God's name did you do? What the hell happened last night?" He had this terrified look in his eyes. He looked like a man possessed. My boy thought he'd gone nutty, so they chased him back across the river. I heard him scream, "You'll answer for this, Mabel Pike. This story is far from over." Before they ran him off, I honestly don't know what I had to answer for. I didn't think any of that hardcore the grey-eyed man had said actually held any weight. But I guess I was wrong.
Most obvious deal with the devil shit ever. It is the most obvious, like, devil deal ever. But I love it. I love the story. It's so good. It almost beats the first SCP that we read today. So, when did Mr. Wagner first retaliate?
Well, I wouldn't really call it retaliation. I don't think Blaine actually had anything to do with what happened next. All I know is, about a week later, me and Ezekiel were canning some beans, when all of a sudden Ezekiel dropped out of his chair, a long black arrow sticking out of both sides of his neck. That's when I saw...
I'll get you next time, get it? Next time.
That's when I saw a horde of Wagners running out of the woods, carrying some real funny looking bows with these little pulleys on the ends, screaming and shouting, thin black arrows with shiny metal tips every which way.
The Wagner were attacking your family.
The way they were screaming reminded me of how my family sounded when they burned down the Wagner house. I didn't hear a whole lot of it though. One of them managed to sink an arrow right here in my leg, and it, pardon the expression, dropped like a horse's turd. The last thing I remember seeing was Albert Wagner standing over me, staring straight into my soul, and then he spoke to me.
What did he say?
The end. Then he drew back on that bow and everything went black. I woke up in my bed, just like before. Zeke was just fine, sitting outside canning beans. No arrows, no Wagners. Just like before.
My God, Mabel, don't ignore me, Dr. Wilkes.
Just like every time since. Just like every time forever.
Visibly distressed.
Oh, God. Forever. The story man said forever.
We can stop. We can stop now, Mabel. It's okay. Growing more and more distressed.
No. Forever. He said forever. I'm gonna keep dying forever. Oh God, Lucy, I'm so sorry.
At this point, subject distress becomes audible outside the room, attracting the attention of P-27, subject's grandson, caretaker.
Granny Mabel, what's going on? Is he bothering you?
No, Zeke, everything's fine. Mabel just got a little excited. See, we were just talking. Nothing is. Subject is in hysterics.
Their eyes were grey. Oh God, Orwell's eyes were grey. They were hungry and grey. All the eyes were grey. Oh God, Lucy, why they're all grey? What the hell did you do, huh? Did Blaine Wagner send you here?
See, please calm down. It's me, Dr. Wilkes. We're just talking.
Them bastard Wagner piece of shit sent you here, huh? You think you're just gonna come in here and hurt my family, Doc? We'll see about that.
Subject exits the room, presumably entering an active state. Quickly exits subject's residence. Come in, exit team. Pike 27 has gone active. I need extraction now.
Therefore, by their fruits ye shall know them.
Christian Bible, Matthew 2:20.
Where's that some bitch? We will be punished with everlasting destruction and shut out from the presence of the Lord and from the glory of his might.
Christian Bible to Thessalonians 1:9. At this point, Dr. Wilkes quickly exits the cabin, followed closely by B-27, who is wielding -A, which appears to be a 12-gauge shotgun. Shots are fired, revealing that the shells in the weapon are loaded with dozens of metallic fletchets. Flaquettes, okay. Which quickly liquefy upon impact. Flaquettes are presumably comprised of solid mercury. By the time operatives extract Dr. Wilkes with only minor injuries, all -P subjects in the vicinity have entered an active state and have acquired their own instance of -A. Subjects begin advancing northward towards the main residence of -W. Active state proceeds as normal. I like the naming detail, Mabel and Blaine. Can you actually tell me, because I feel like something's like telling me about it, but I can't put my finger on it. All attempts by Dr. Wilkes to gather similar information from -W1 have been unsuccessful. When questioned about the feud's origin, the subject becomes defensive and hostile. However, audio surveillance of the house occupied by -W reveals that W1 suffers from frequent night terrors. The most frequently spoken words during this episode include Lucy and Ever After. Foundation historians are currently investigating local records to determine the identity of their storyteller, described by P1, but have made no progress. I've been pronouncing fletchets wrong my whole life. I have no idea, dude. Like, I also feel like maybe... Fléchette. Yeah, see, that sounds more correct. Does this one sound like, what was this?
Flaquettes.
Flaquette. Yeah, no, that doesn't. It's probably fléchettes. It's like French, right? So. Fléchette. Yeah, just shouldn't trust those videos. They're pretty shitty. But yeah, can you? Blaine and Mabel, Cain and Abel. Ah, yes. Gotcha. Yeah, that's cool. And you think Lucy is definitely like meant to be like Lucifer, or like at least like a little like nod towards it, because like whenever like they used to take Lucifer and try to like crucify or like give him a nickname, it's like usually like that. But yeah, no, this was awesome. This was a good one to end on with. It was a longer one, but I really did enjoy this one. I will have to be honest. It will share a spot with Laugh is Fun. Both seems convinced the other killed Lucy, so possibly she didn't even exist. That or maybe Lucy was dating both. But like Lucy might have been like an entity that was trying to like cause friction between both. So because we never got the explanation at the end, right? Oh, she self-exited? I don't think she self-exited because of her blame with the gun, and probably there was like blood all. Actually, no, you might be right, New. Maybe she did self-exit. Maybe Blaine walked in and saw her dead on the ground with a gun, and he picked up the gun, and then Mabel walked in. There's a lot. I think that's another reason why this SCP is like good, is because like you could theorize who is in the wrong, or like what perspective is correct, and yeah, there's like multiple. So there's like multiple like ways to see to theorize what happened between them two. Wait, what? So. But yeah, no, this was really good way to end. I really enjoyed that one. Very Romeo. Or maybe it was Simon's S. Aldi scenario. Don't know what that means. But it was very like Romeo and Juliette, but a lot more extreme.